Yeah, what? Oh, I missed by a little bit. No, he's getting away. A 1v1 game played on Airport Duel between Sparty Bullys Me playing 79Y and Zhukov Enjoyer playing 119Y. So we'll go through the deck reviews, then we'll talk about the map, the matchup, the deployments, and the game, and as always, timestamps in the description. Right, so this is Zhukov Enjoyer's deck. He's playing 119Y, quite a popular division at the moment because it's broken. So we'll go through it tab by tab. I'm just taking a quick look here. So, first things first, when you play in this division, you're expecting a 40-minute game, basically every time. There are ways to try and play it as a rush division. There are some games that will go shorter, but generally that's a suboptimal way to play the deck. There's an easy way and a hard way, and I don't see why you'd make things hard for yourself. So, you want 3 cards of supply, because it's going to be a 40-minute game. You've got Artie that needs firing, and you've also got lots of tanks to repair and so on. So you're gonna need 3 cards of supply. Now, in terms of your supply options, 2 of the truck ones makes a lot of sense, and then basically this is a nice cheap supply, which if you lose it, it's not a big deal, and it's got some armor, so it'll survive some counter battery. Sometimes you'll just have 25 points left over, so you buy this one. Also, it carries 600 supply, whereas I suppose there are no Cubs in this division. So it's the sort of thing that's ideal to put with your AA or something like that, because it'll keep the AA going for quite a while, and it's not expensive, so you won't feel it. You could bring a Helo supply and then use that. Like, instead of one of the trucks, bring a Helo one, use the Helo to sort out the trucks. It's just not really worth it in a 1v1. In a team game, it makes a lot of sense, because the maps are bigger. So the Helo supply can get closer to the front line. You can also use it to steal supply from your teammates' fobs, that sort of thing. Then, in terms of CVs, right? So, we've got 2, 4, 5, 6, 7 CVs. Basically, that's alright, yeah. This is just the normal one to take, really. I've covered this deck a lot, so a lot of these things are just things I just sort of agree with anyway, because I think they've been based off my earlier videos. So yeah, I think this is all good. Basically, it's tracked, it's 3 availability. You could get away with bringing this, because it's so cheap, but then you lose an availability, and it is better to have 7 CVs rather than 6. Some people don't never ever bring a CV Helo. Some people go for this one because it's wheeled, so you would not be as far behind on points because you would get the wheeled CV and it would cap the zones faster. This is a late game division. You're expecting to be behind on points, really, so save yourself 30 quid, which is, enough to get one of these and change. And get this one instead. So that's why I think this is the best idea. Or you could go for this one, and because you can get to... So if you're playing on, like, Black Forest Duel, you can buy 2 of these at the start and send one to the forest side and one to the open side for 80 points, whereas this is 70 each, but then you only have 6 CVs. So there is a trade-off there, but both of them are good ideas. So infantry tab, the way 119Y works, for those of you who have been living under a rock, is that the start of the game you get a very powerful forward deployment and a very powerful early game, and then in the mid game you're kind of weak, and then the late game you spam the second best tanks in the game. The best is probably the HA Abrams. Depends really. In a big team game these are better because you can use the range, whereas in a 1v1 map there aren't that many situations where you need the extra range. And in a 1v1 between this and the HA, in gun range, the HA will win because it's got more pen. So basically, yeah, you start off by, like, Spetsnaz or Spetsnaz OP are just must bring, so you always have to bring them. You want as many as possible, so you bring them on 2 vet. So these guys are a great, very, very impressive anti-infantry squad, maybe the best anti-infantry squad in the game. And this goes at 90 kilometers an hour.
Pip subscribed to the channel.
Thank you for subscribing to the channel, Pip. This goes at 90 kilometers an hour and it's forward deployed, whereas this goes at 100. It's forward deployed. So you always pair one of these up with one of these, or usually, right? And this gets there first, can shoot enemy vehicles, and then these guys show up and win the fight. This has a very good rocket launcher. These guys don't have a rocket launcher, so that's why they're a pair. Then we've got Motorstocky BMP.
I like money.
Casper Fuchek subscribed to the
Wow,
channel.
very popular today. Thank you, Casper. Very popular today. I released like a Broken Arrow video that seems to be doing quite well, which is a good thing, but it's also a bad thing because it means I need to make another one of those, and I found it kind of boring. But yeah, you know, whatever, it pays the bills. So this is like a must-bring card as well. The BMP 1P gives you a nice IFV and cheap infantry, and I do recommend bringing it on no vet so that you can get as many of these guys out as possible. And it's just to bulk out your forces, basically. You know, this isn't a particularly impressive squad, but it's all right. And this isn't a particularly impressive IFV, but it's all right. This can one-shot 3 armored vehicles with the unspeakable one. So I bring it at no vet because you need as many as possible, really. These are padding out your forces. They're just there to just take damage while your heavy hitters do the actual killing. And then Pulmachiki at 1 vet is something I recommended the last time I covered 119Y. Basically, so you can bring Sappers or Saperi RPO, right? But you've got Spetsnaz for the RPO, and you should have, yes, Razvedka Saperi for the satchels. So you don't actually need more of those. What can be useful is just some truck line inf that can actually win a fight. So this is your padding, and these guys can actually win a fight against a lot of infantry because they've got 3 machine guns, which is like 6 rifles, so they shoot with the strength of 10 men. But actually a machine gun is more like 2.x rifles. It's not 2. It's just that's a nice approximation. It helps you keep it in your head. So yeah, they're very effective, and so you bring them at 1 vet because you actually want these guys to be fighting, whereas these are just, you know, when you're pushing with your TAEUD, you want a couple of these guys in front and a couple of these just to pad it out, shoot ATGMs. So they have different roles, really. RT tabs, so if you want self-propel, if you want to smoke things, the Gvozdika is basically your best bet in this div, because you don't the Vaslek can't actually shoot smoke. And you don't get a cell, you know, towed mortar or anything. So you have to use the Gvozdika really if you want to smoke. And this thing is your heavy hitter for dealing with ATGM positions. Basically, a lot of what you do playing 119Y, because the game's going to go on for ages, you basically want these guys to just hit a ATGM move, hit an ATGM move. So this is a good way of doing it. This is for smoke, and somebody's calling me. Why would anybody be calling me? Why am I so popular? Can't everybody just go away? I'll just edit that out. It was just a spam caller. It was like a robot voice. Anyway, so you can do this and that, right? And you want to have this at 1 vet, otherwise it can't actually maintain the smoke. Alternatively, what you can do is use these for smoke and have them, because if they're at 1 vet, then they will maintain a constant patch of smoke, otherwise the smoke will fade. So I've seen people do this, but basically if these die, you're screwed, and they're towed. So I like having the self-propelled smoke. And then this is just for hitting ATGMs and stuff, and if it does it a little bit slower, that's fine. So if, like, you see an Igla team, one of these will kill the Igla team, and then you can, you know, shoot both at once and kill 2 Igla teams or whatever, or you can just double them up and shoot 2 at 1 ATGM position to make sure you get him, because sometimes you won't get him. So yeah, I think this is the best way of doing it. This thing's actually really good. Now that it's thermobaric, it's really good against infantry. So another thing you can do is put this in, 2 AP. Where can we find 2 AP? That's 1 AP. Don't know why anybody would bring this anyway, but there you go. Yeah. So this can be useful, because if you are on two lakes or something, basically the way you would win is by cutting the reinforcement road and then getting the Spetsnaz in and killing them. But this allows you to just kill them. But usually you can work around not having this. So the tank tab, yeah, so the T80 BVKs for the CVs, just because you don't have space here for some CVs, right? So you bring them in the tank tab, and so there's your 7 CVs. So yeah, they're pricey, but it's a good tank. Then the T80 UDs, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's quite a lot actually. It's enough. I think that's decent. I'm just thinking about like, could you down bet this, and then that's 2 AP, and then you could put the burrito in. I think that's worth it actually. I mean, the TO55, we might as well talk about this now, is absolutely cracked. So if you want the burrito, that's how you get it in there. But you can actually, it's actually probably better to have more TO55s because they are absolutely ridiculous. They're just crazy. It's really stupid. Then they added another weapon. They increased their fire rate. They increased the availability. And then they added another machine gun. So it's a pretty absurd vehicle, actually. So you do want 8 of these if you can. At 2 vets, not so bad. But yeah, basically T8UD, this is the crowning glory, right? And then you've also got this one, which isn't as good, but basically I believe this could survive 2 30 AP missiles to the front, which is like a salvo from an AT plane, although that, they don't come in this division. So these are pretty crazy, and then these are slightly less crazy, but you'll notice they're a little bit faster. But they've got less armor. So essentially, you get your Spetsnaz out, you get your AA set up, you get your fighter, and then you start buying the heavy tanks. And that's why it takes so long to win as this division. And then for the early game, you've got the TO55, which we spoke about. And then this is very useful for sneaking around the side and annoying people. And also used as a defensive tool. Just to buy you some more space and some more time to get some more heavy tanks. If your opponent... Basically, you're quite good in the early game because of the Spetsnaz and the Razvedka BMP2s. And the TO55s. But if you're against like a second Panzer or something and he starts pushing you hard in the mid game, that's where you start to collapse. And so like if you lose a couple of these, so this is a really useful tool to just buy you some more space. It's very good. It's got good stealth. It's fast. You just use it to shoot ATGMs at people. You can also sneak one around the side and annoy people that way. So you do need this. Shout out to this thing, which is 2,800 meters range. But it's more static. It's more of a defensive tool, so it can buy you some more space. But these are already 2,800 meters, and this is fine anyway. Also, it's more mobile. This will die to artillery essentially. Recon. So he's brought the Recon Helo, which can be good at the start of the game. Basically, you do an opener where you get like a fighter out and this. And then you use that to zone the enemy forward deployment. And he can't kill it because of the fighter. It does make your deployment quite weak, because this is 155 and then this is 260, so that's what? 315, 415 out of 1,500 points. So it's almost a third of your opener on those two. But it can work, I've seen it done. Then this is exceptional optics. You put it with your tanks. So you just do Shift F on this and click on your tank. Then your tank has exceptional optics and you can smoke. If your tank needs an extra smoke, you can smoke. It's got a decent amount of armor. Razvedka BMP2s are absolutely cracked. The main reason why, right, so that they've got mediocre stealth, whereas a regular one has bad stealth. But the thing is that the basically when guns fire, they make noise. And then that makes the vehicle or the infantry easier to spot. but the noise that is made by the autocannon and the conk and the ATGM is actually very, very low. So if you've not got a recon unit, I've seen cases where this will just shoot you constantly and you won't be able to see it. Even though you know where it's coming from, your units won't be able to see it, ever, until you bring up a recon. So you want as many of these as possible. This is your mid game, basically. You get one out at the start, and then you buy all 6 of these in the mid game, and that's your mid game. And that's why this division's kind of cracked right now, because it's basically strong all the time. The other problem with this unit is that it comes at 6 availability, whereas like a sort of Recon Bradley comes at 3. But because this is a transport and the infantry comes at 6 availability, this comes at 6 availability. So then we've got Spetsnaz GRU, so another great tool. So this gives you ground surveillance radar, so that's exceptional optics when stood still, and it's a decent squad with the DMR and so on. And then Razvedka Saperi in the BTR-60, so the BTR-60 is a good piece of kit. And the Razvedka Saperi, you bring them at 1 vet because you actually want them to fight. Whereas this, you just want it for the Razvedka BMP2. If it's being shot at, you want to smoke and leave. It's just the point is that it's stealthy, so you shouldn't be inactive. You shouldn't be receiving shots. And if you get shot once, you want to smoke and leave anyway, so you don't really need the veterancy. It's nice to have it, you don't need it. Whereas this, you do need the veterancy for these units, because they have to run up to the enemy and throw a satchel, which means they're going to be losing cohesion all the time, so you want the veterancy on them. And the transport's faster than the truck, and it's got KPVT and a PKT. It's actually pretty decent for 30 points. AA, so the Tunguska, you basically don't have a choice. You kind of have to bring it. It's not that amazing, but there you go. Strela 10M, you don't need 7, so you should upvet it to get 5. It's quite a common mistake people make. You don't need 7 of these, and you don't need 9 of these. You can get 6. So yeah, manpads, Shorad, and the closest thing you have to long-range AA. Helos, so between the helo options, I mean, I suppose it is better than the Rocket 3. So it's just sort of a gunship. These two will fire straight away, and they're very quick to resupply, so you could actually do some pretty zany strats with that. Don't expect this thing to do anything, but yeah, it's just a gunship helo for rocket shooty. And then between all the different options here, so this is my favourite because these rockets go further and they do a bigger boom, which makes them more likely to hit, and they've got more accuracy. And so it shoots them all off, and then you go reload, and the resupply cost is less than 40, 80mm, because it's just done off the number of rockets. That's why this is 8, even though it's 480mm of boom, right? I mean, obviously that's not really how it works, but... And then this is 122mm of boom or what have you. Yeah, 2 missiles, 8 supply cost. 20 missiles, 80 supply cost, even though the missiles are not as big. I'd say half the size, but because of the way cylinders work, it's more like it's almost like a quarter of the boom power per rocket, and the supply cost is the same. Anyway, this one has more range. This one has more co-cons, and this one has 10% ECM and a better gun. Don't really need the better gun. You really want the gun one. Here's a gun one. I mean, generally you don't want to be in gun range. Ever since they nerfed autocannons against helos, because this used to go like 1700 against helos, now it's 1500, and the accuracy, they seem to like do a lot less as well in general. They tend to miss more. Whereas this is, 1750. Wow. So now you'll have 250 meters range on him, whereas you didn't used to have that before. So there are more cases where this is more useful, but this is my favourite one because I prefer the bigger boom on the rockets. Air tab, so if you lose air superiority as this div, you basically lose the game because your tanks all get blown up, your heavy tanks, and then you're scuppered. If you keep air superiority, you basically win the game, unless you make lots of micro mistakes, because these tanks are basically unkillable if you're paying attention to anything that isn't a plane. So 6 fighters is the minimum in my opinion. This is better than any NATO fighter, longer range missiles than any NATO fighter, better short range than any NATO fighter, it's more accurate as well than any NATO fighter, and it has a better turn-in circle than the Eagle, and it carries more missiles, and it costs the same, if not less, depending on the variant. Used to be even more cheap. And this is the same thing, except with less ECM and fewer missiles, but it's the same missiles. So yeah, absolutely cracked fighters. They've also got more autonomy than most NATO planes. And then basically an LGBT bomber, like a panic bomber if you really need it. It might be a one-way trip because you've not got seed or anything, but to get the seed, you're gonna have to get rid of some like you'd have to get rid of the Escortini, the 2 Escortinis, and 4 TO-55s, and then downvet this one maybe, or just leave it at 4, to get 3 points to get the seed. So, is that worth it for you? I mean, it's a decision you have to make. So, that's it for that deck. Switching to his opponent, we've got, it's like Sparty Bullys Me or something, playing 79Y. And this is sort of like 119Y, except, so it's got the same thing with the tanks, except you lean a lot more on BMP2 spam, which have been nerfed a little bit with the autocannon changes, but they're still there. And the IFV ATGM changes. But yeah, it's quite similar in its outlook. There's a lot of overlap. Basically, the tanks aren't as good, but the infantry's a lot more plentiful, and the AA is better, but the planes aren't as good. That's it, but everything else is basically the same. So this won't take too long. 3 CV wheeled. So this is like this one, which is in 119Y, except it's the wheeled equivalent, and it's still 3, unlike the 2 on the other one. So yeah, you can buy this so you're not too far behind at the start. You'll notice all these other options are the same, except this. He's only got 2 cards of supply, so now given that this div also wants to play for the late game, and it's got a lot of arty, and it's got a lot of tanks, this is a mistake. You want 3 cards of supply. So basically the deal is you spam BMP2s, that's what you do as this division. Although I'm noticing, yeah, I'm noticing. So, the BMP2D is the good one, because it's got more side armor and rear armor, which makes it better. So, yeah, you get that. And these guys are a cheaper squad, they're 35 points, whereas this is 40. So that and these are cost the same, even though this one's better. Because apparently losing amphibious is very important. So yeah, you want these ones out first because they're cheaper and they're better. You're getting it for the BMP2, not the infantry, and then you swap into regular BMP2 spam. Then we've got some Saperi RPO in the BTR-60PB, so this is like the Spetsnaz weapon. The idea with these guys is that you bring them at Nova because you don't actually want them to get shot at. There should be somebody in front of you at all times. You just show up, shoot the RPO, and once you're out of RPO, you leg it. You don't stick around. So if you actually want to fight, you need to be at 1 vet. But if you do that strat, you can be at no vet. Then we've got an Infantry Conkers, which I personally think you can do without. Because I've noticed a bit of a weakness in this deck. And then we've got a 30mm grenade launcher, so this is like anti-infantry. You just put it in a building, the infantry can't get near you. And then this is like the same but anti-vehicle. There's no wheeled infantry with a T. So Pulmachiki at 1 vet in the, well, I suppose it'd have to be in the Gaz, can be useful for the same reason it can be useful on the other div, 119Y. Is it worth losing 6 BMP2s for that Pulmachiki? It's up to you. You could argue that there is wheeled infantry here.
Like Jeremy Stradzejewski subscribed to the channel.
Thank you, Jeremy, last name, for subscribing to the channel. Yeah, you could argue that these guys, if you like really need an infantry AT in a town, you could put these guys, because basically you don't, because these are in 119Y as well, but the point is that these are ground surveillance radar, and you want them kind of at a distance. You don't, like, they can fend for themselves, they've got very good SMGs and the special forces and so on, but you want them at a distance given recon information, you've only got 4 of them, so it could be argued that you can do without the Pulmachiki because your infantry ATs, like, so these guys could be backed up by these guys. I mean, it's a 4-man squad, but do you really need 24 BMP2s plus another 4? Do you really need 28 BMP2s? Like, this is personally how I would do it. but, you know. Arty, so we've got the Akatsias here. So these are like the Mr. B, except less range, but self-propelled. And so because this is a 1-point slot, he's brought 2 upvetted. So that's fair enough. If you've got the 3rd card of supply, you can bring a Grad and keep these down vetted. And honestly, it's quite useful. If you want to play a long game, a Grad is a nice thing to have. And then for smoke, we've got the Toad Mortars in the MTLB. You bring it in the MTLB because this can survive counter battery. If you want to splurge, you can buy these at 1 vet, and then you do your smoke that way. The only problem is it's more than twice the price. And it doesn't create as big a pool of smoke. It's just if you're against a good player, they will immediately counter battery this as soon as it starts shooting. Whereas this is basically uncounter batteryable. So it depends if you think you can get away with it, but you do lose a lot of momentum. Like this you can fit in quite easily, whereas this is, quite substantial investment. Tank tab, so basically the T80B, this can survive 2 TOW 2 hits from the front without dying. This is the same thing, but it's got 1 less HP because it's not got the ERA. So, and you can buy 1 in a minute. You get 260 points in a minute. So 15 points for 1 HP and 1 side armor. So this will survive a Conkers to the side, and this will die to a Conkers from the side. Basically, you get these out first, and then you start buying the ISDs, and then you can get this if you want. So here's an idea, right? These are auto-loaded tanks, all the T80s are. And so that means you don't gain ROF when you increase the veterancy. These come at 3 vet. So here we go. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 3, 6, 7, 8, and then you get rid of this one. Then you can down vet that. No, hang on. We want the supply, don't we? Yeah, you can down vet that, get rid of that, and get your 3rd card of supply. How great is that? How fantastic. You can even make it the big truck one if you want. So I think that's worth it, really. Maybe you don't. Maybe you're very frivolous with your tanks, and you think you need 2, 4, 10, 12... but maybe you need 14 tanks instead of 12. Generally, if your first 12 heavy tanks don't work, I don't think 2 more is going to help you. And then we've got the TO55, same story as the other deck, and the BRDM2 Conkers, same story as the other deck. Razvedka BMP2, same story as the other deck, but it could be argued here that here you've got so much infantry that you can afford to bring these at 1 vet, whereas in 119Y you don't get as much infantry, so that's why you bring them at no vet. Also, your mid-game's better because your tanks aren't as expensive. Spetsnaz grew exactly the same as the other div. And then these guys. So, I actually don't think this is a good... So this is cheap recon, right? The issue you're going to have is that your tanks don't have exceptional optics. So, I think, honestly, this tab could be stacked a little more. Ooh. So, you really need 3 cards of supply in this div, honestly. Unless you're just bad and you don't repair your stuff, which does happen. You need this, really, so that your tanks can see what they're shooting at. Because this only has good optics, and this only has good optics, and your infantry can't keep up, and you've not got a recon. This is, like, the best recon helo in the game. Because it's got 8 HP. It's only 50 points, 3 availability, exceptional optics, so it can survive a manpad hit. Can even survive like an Osa hit, a Chaparral hit, a Rapier hit, Tunguska hit. And it's got exceptional optics, so I like this one. But you at least need this, so that your tanks can see. So, like, if we've got the Pulmachiki here, like, you can probably get rid of these. Like, you don't need that much infantry recon, because you're a tank div, so you shouldn't really be... The idea behind this is that it's really cheap, so you can just get them all over the place and see a lot. But yeah, we'll see about this. Maybe there's something in the air tab or something. So, yeah, okay, here we go. So, the Cub is good for long-range AA, and you don't need more than 4 of them, unless you're just bad, so just get rid of that. That's 1 point. And we'll find you another point somewhere. So Cub, Igla. So this is long range AA, right? And then this is short range AA at 1 vet, which makes sense. And then yeah, these are like very short range AA, and then this is like relatively short range AA. I honestly think 5 of these is better. You can actually just do without this. This doesn't actually need to be there at all. This is a big point investment, and frankly, I think the Strela 10M is better. But if you come up against an Apache, this can shoot the Apache, and this can't. So, Helo tab. So this is the one that's in 119Y, and this is the other one that's in 119Y. But my favorite option isn't there. So that's fair enough, really. Do you really need these? Do you really need this? Do you know what I mean? Like, and then, yeah, so basically you just can't bring everything. You just can't bring everything, can you? What do you get rid of? What do you get rid of so that you can win? Because, yeah, without this, you're going to have a really tough time, basically. And you do kind of need these guys. You can do without the Tunguska, but you will struggle. Only having long range and man pads is not, it's not amazing. So yeah, helos. I'd be getting rid of a helo. So like, you know, maybe these guys. It's more of a panic button than anything, and you've got a panic bomber. So what do you need? What do you need a panic helo for when you've already got other healers? So if you get rid of that, you got 3 AP, right? And now you can come over here and you can get your recon so that your tanks can see. And then you can come over here and upvet these again. Air tab, so this MiG is actually better than the other MiG. I had this conversation with quite a good player, and they didn't know about this, and I thought it was really strange. Because this one's infrared, even though it's got less range, it'll fire faster, so it will get 2 of these off before the merge. Whereas the other MiG will only get 1 of the big one off before the merge. So this is actually better than the other MiG. So yeah, you want to bring that, and then more ASFs. So this is for killing helos, enemy helos, and then we've got so these. I mean, it's sort of a square peg in a round hole thing using these. They are decent. It's just generally you want to be playing around your T80 BVs and your BMP2s. And so if you go for like light on the air, so if you get rid of these, I mean you can do this, it's just you've not got seed. They've got quite long reload times, 4 minutes each. And it's costing you so much to do this. Whereas you can get this rocket one, you get it because it's 3 per card, and then that gives you air dominance in the early game. You use this against infantry, whatever. And then you can, well, I mean, the problem is, right, if you come up against a bunch of TAEUDs, you're going to struggle, which, incidentally, this is exactly what's happening this game. So, I prefer this one, honestly, but whatever. You can do this, right, there's nothing stopping you from doing this. It's just, well, you're not really sacrificing too much for it, so yeah, it can work. Anyway, that's enough yappage, and then we'll talk about the map, the matchup, the deployments, and the game, and as always, timestamps in the description. Right, so with that out of the way, let's talk about the map. Airport, basically, blue is on the good side, because Anna's a lot harder to attack than Paul, and blue also gets this town, and you can just put an ATGM up here, gives you a lot of options. Having said that, red's also Elena's easier to defend than Fedor. Red has an advantage, and red's advantage is that they can actually contest Elena at the start, but if blue manages to push them out, then it becomes blue-sided. But yeah, that is an advantage for red. In terms of the matchups, so we've got 79Y and 119Y, 2 very competitive divisions. 119Y is a little better. Basically, it's just got better forward deployment and a better late game, whereas 79Y is more about the mid game. It's more about BMP2 spam, which is very effective, but it has been nerfed recently, so they're not as effective as they used to be. So, yeah, in terms of the matchup, you'd expect basically 119Y to do better at the start, 79Y to win the mid game, and 119Y to win the late game. So let's have a look at the deployments. So we've got Sparty Bullys Me here, and he's got a Spetsnaz Gru going all the way over to Boris, so that's quite aggressive. And then 2 Razvedka BMP2s behind that, so definitely going for the Fedor Boris axis. And behind that we've got another BMP2D, which I think is a bit superfluous, and a Tunguska, and a supply. Then we've got a Razvedka for Elena. Spetsnaz Gru for the middle building we spoke so much about. And another Razvedka here, which is a bit redundant, really. But the BMP2 can basically, if Red wants to attack down here at the start, the BMP2 would kill everything. So that can work. And then 1 Razvedka for over here. This is a tall building, so you can see further than Atheists if you go in this building. So that's why he's gone for this one rather than this atheistic dwelling next door. And then we've got another BMP2, so a bit heavy on the BMP2s really. 2 TO55s, a Tunguska, and a BRDM2. So interestingly enough, he's not sending these to Elena, he's just blobbing them here. But presumably they can come across and fight. Typically, if you're on the blue side, you should expect Elena to be attacked at the start. Switching to his opponent's deployment, we've got Zhukov Enjoyer, and he's attacking Elena, as you might expect. So, one Spetsnaz, so he's trying to attack Emma and Elena simultaneously, which I think is a bad idea. I think you should just go for one. Elena's the easier one to go for, mainly because of the roads here. You tend to get shot in the side as you're trying to get in this zone a lot, and it's further away. So Spetsnaz OP for here, and then Spetsnaz OP for here, so that's a bit redundant really. Spetsnaz OP for mid, Spetsnaz for the left, Spetsnaz for mid, Spetsnaz Gru for the left, Spetsnaz Gru for mid, and then a Razvedka BMP2D. So basically, I think all of this, like you just need like one infantry unit, one recon unit here, and like one infantry unit here or something. And then you put a lot more into Elena. So I think this is a bit too infantry heavy, to be honest, because Spetsnaz OP, yeah, but it's only going to work if the enemy comes within, 750 meters of you. So you want, so we know he's not got any infantry conkers from the deck review, which we didn't skip. But you can get a couple more TO55s, they're quite useful, and you hide them behind the buildings if there's a TABV, or you just bring them out and shoot the infantry. Or another Razvedka BMP2 or something. Or even that recon helo that's in the deck. Like the recon helo fighter thing could actually work here. And then a Strel 10M and an Igla for Elena. And a CV for Paul. Then we got another CV for Boris and then Fedor. Spetsnaz OP, Spetsnaz Gru, another Razvedka BMP2. And Pulma Cheeky here. So yeah, I think basically you want more TO55s at the start. Particularly on a nice big open map. Maybe a couple BRDM2 conkers. Bit too much infantry here for my liking. Because the infantry can't really do anything in such a big open map. Like, if this was Black Forest, this would make more sense. But typically, you want to get some TO55s in. You want to get, maybe another Razvedka PMB2 or 2 BRDM2 conkers, something like that. Or maybe the Helo. Just a bit too much infantry here. So let's cast the game, and we shall do so from this perspective. Right, so they're off, and it's time for me to thank the generous channel joiners, generously joining the channel. They get their names on the screen, they get the videos early, they get members exclusive videos. One join at the lowest level is worth 2,000 views, so if you're feeling better about your ad block, it's a great way to support the channel. This is my sole source of income, as I exist in prison, also known as doing a PhD. It just never ends, it never ends. I'm so tired, I don't know how to not be tired. Do you know what I mean? Because I still need to work on it. But how do I get my energy back? I've tried taking a break. I'm doing that right now, in fact. I don't know. I'll think of something. Things will get better eventually. But yeah, thanks for watching the videos. I literally, I don't know what the hell I'd do if I didn't have this channel, because this is paying my bills. My funding ran out, and they're not letting me submit my thesis, so this is literally keeping me alive. So I do appreciate it, thank you. So yeah, the Spetsnaz OP almost dies in the vehicle there, but he does manage to unload it in time. And yeah, he's going to take that. Typically, if you've got an advantage here, you want to try and push up to this as fast as possible. But he might get caught out in the open, so I can see why he's not in a hurry to do that. Razvedka could be MP2 doing the shooty down here, which is what I spoke about before. I've got an itchy ear. And yeah, so the Spetsnaz OP can't actually fight back because these are SMGs. So he would need the Spetsnaz GRU to do the shooting. So the Blob has shown up with the TO-55s. Over here, Blue's done quite well for himself. Gaz goes down there, and that had a Pulmachiki in it, so the Pulmachiki's dead as well. So this is not looking so great for Red right now. So essentially what you want to do if you're Red is sort this out, then you get somebody in here, and then they can't reinforce this anymore. So yeah, he's got the right idea with these, the BRDM2 Conkers. So I guess he must have had one of those out at the start, unless he's just bought it. Sadly, the Razvedka BMP2 is going to kill that, most likely. And the BMP-1P is going to try and get through this gap here without getting shot. Now, we'll see how that goes. Yeah, because this was shooting this, it took a long time to turn, so it has managed to survive. This should have been in the forest, then these guys wouldn't have actually been able to see it, because this isn't in vision, so he would have been fine and he could have kept shooting there. And yeah, in mid, these units, they were pushed up too far, really, and now they're being pushed out. So I guess Sparty Bullys Me is trying to get to Paul here. I'm just going to close my blinds. It's quite bright today. So, helicopter purchased, and there was a Tunguska in here, but I guess it got killed. Or did he just leave it at the back? No, I think the Razvedka BMP2 might have got it or something. What was that? It's like an MTLB supply. And yeah, the fighter's out. So this is the issue with having a helo out here, is that somebody will just always chuck a fighter at it. And so you need to, it's like helo plane. Helo plane. If there's no AA, there should be a plane. You can't just buy a helo and send it out, because this will happen 10 out of 10 times. It's not like Broken Arrow, where jets aren't that good against helos. In this, they're very good. So TO-55's purchased to hold off the enemy TO-55s. And I think that's a good idea. This is still dying. I mean, he could have landed it behind a building or something. Instead, he's going to land it in the open, and then it's going to get shot, I think, by that BMP-2D there. But now he's given it an attack move order, because he's evac'd the enemy, the jet there. So here we go, here's the fighter, and you just want to keep this back here, really, because there might be a cub over there. There should be, really. These Tunguskas on 79Y is a very strange purchasing decision. So, Razvedka BMP2s on the unspeakable ones. And, yeah, you should have smoked that, really, with this coming towards you, you know. And he's bought another helo, which I don't know if that's such a great idea. But now that the fighter's out, it can be useful. The thing is, obviously, the Tunguska is now going to shoot at the fighter. So, okay, this must have killed it. Don't see what else could have done that. So now Red's main goal, right, he's on a +1, is to sort this out. But yeah, I'm surprised that Blue hasn't put a Conkers in here. That's quite a popular one. And then you can move it up to here. He's not done that. And yeah, you know, just... yeah, so he's getting back now. So if you're Red, you kind of want to slow the game down a bit, but you can't really do that right now. So yeah, you can get a supply for this, but what he can do is put the supply back here and get the helo there, because that will actually happen faster, because the helo's a lot faster than the supply. So just something to think about when you're trying to supply helicopters, is that they're quite mobile, so you can just put them basically back to your spawn and heal them up faster that way. The motorized Razvedka are not going to beat the Motostrelki. So here we go, TO-55, once this gets up to here, then he's sorted, right? Sadly, he's changed his mind. But yeah, get a recon up to here, right? A Razmed could be MP2 or something. But yeah, you know, if the enemy round is going to hit before your round, and you know you can't survive a hit from the enemy round, and also it's got more accuracy than you might want to just smoke.
Hello, I like
rather
money.
than taking your
Cleaver of
chances.
Oz subscribed to the channel.
Thank you for subscribing to the channel, Cleaver of Oz. So here we see the problem with going for such an infantry-centric start, is that he basically is just getting pushed out by BMPs now. So a lot of that comes down to what he bought in the opening. He didn't need that much infantry. A couple more Razvedka BMP2s or a couple TO55s here, right? Because you hide them behind the buildings and then you bring them out and shoot people. So what you can do here is turn off the cover and then it won't go back in the building. But he's not done that, so now it's going to run back in the building, and now he's like, how do I stop that? I need to get it further away. Well, the main way is, yeah, so you can see he's pressed it once instead of twice. So the TO55 has just sort of ran in. This is a very... Oh, it's not the one I thought it was. And there you go, it gets the CV. So red will be on a +2 in a second, but he's not going to hold on to mid very... Well, presumably. I don't watch these ahead of time. So yeah, he's turned these off and now he's hid behind the building, so it can work. You can put it on a hotkey rather than having to press it twice every time, because if you press it twice quickly, it doesn't actually work. It only registers one press. So you literally have to press, and do it for all of them. So it's best to bind that hotkey. It's in the options, you can find it. You can bind this one. Can't remember what it's called. Bind, toggle, hold position or something. Anyway, so Zhukov's doing a great job of pushing out Sparty's Bullies Me here. Yeah, guy's taking lots of unnecessary damage, I feel. And the helo has been heloed up, and now it's back to... so yeah, I think Blue's lack of AA is quite disturbing, really. The Igla should be up here, because otherwise this happens. And yeah, so it takes out that TO55 there. And red is not having a great time at all. He's probably going to lose all these units. So CV trying to duel a BMP2 is not ideal. It doesn't actually have smoke. And then, like, what? That didn't have to happen, really. So quite a lot of mistakes going on here. Right, so here's the jet. So this is probably dead. That SU-27, I'm not sure what happened to it. It might have run out of fuel. And down it goes. So, you know, you got to be careful. You got to have a jet up or AA. Like, one Igla's not going to cut it, really. So, wow, okay. But it's on the ground, so it won't take that much damage. Yeah, I would say Blue's strategy is definitely easier to execute than Red's. You know, just by BMP2 is quite straightforward, really. But Zhukov needs to stop dueling things with his CV. And it just gets out there again. And here we go, more BMP2s. And he didn't have anything in here, so they're just going to walk in. So typically you don't want two recon here, right? Like this one, you push up to here maybe, and then you want a unit here to kind of at least see down here, but also it stops this sort of thing from happening. So there you go, the CV got somebody. He's playing very fast and loose with this CV. But yeah, it got a BMP2D there, so 60 points. And here we go, it's helo time. This is quite... This isn't great, really. I mean, so it's working, but what you can do is go for here and then crawl through the forest, and then you're actually in cover, because this doesn't actually have smoke. Which means it's kind of hard to keep it alive. Anyway, you see that the autocannons have definitely been nerfed against helos. Just something with the way the accuracy and the splash works. That last patch that would have died, and now it doesn't. So there's something to be said for the changes. I think it's good, really. IFEs were just stupid. I do need to play a little bit more to come to a conclusion, though. So Sparty Bullys Me has now bought 2 T80Bs and he's got 0 cubs up. Now keep in mind he's got 6 cubs in his deck. These are the sort of things you want cubs up for. And he's not really got any recon, he's just buying BMP2s and spamming them. And that's working quite well. So you can see that, you know, I don't watch these games ahead of time, but in the early game, red was winning, and in the mid game, now blue is winning. Question is, can blue do enough damage to red to prevent him from getting his, you know, heavy tanks out and so on? So here's the tier EUDs. I would have only got one of those and then some AA, because the main way they're going to die is to planes, basically. And what we know from the 79 wide players deck from the deck review, which he didn't skip, is that he's got 2 of these SU-24M cluster 2s. So if there's no, like, that fighter should be up all the time, and there should be an AA with your tanks, a Tunguska or a Strela 10M, because you can't do this because you're just gonna get bombed. So he just, you know, it bombs in a line. So what you can do, you could have gone forwards there. He could have, you know, turned to the left. He could have gone backwards, but instead it was on an attack move order, so he didn't move until it was too late. So he loses the tank there, and they're useless unless you have the AA, because that guy just killed that and he didn't even punish it. So he's going to be able to do that again in 4 minutes. On this side, just a lot of units kind of in the open getting shot, which isn't great. And yeah, I think this would have been much more useful here, because that would be able to start killing all those guys. So just getting air bullied here because of a lack of planes and AA. You need to get some planes and some AA. That was an interesting unload. So he knows you're in there now. And here's the plane, right? So yeah, you just leave the plane up. You leave it back here, because if you're here, a cub here would be able to shoot you. And you do have to queue up a bunch of orders back here, otherwise it just... So that's one thing Broken Arrow does do better. One of many things. The planes in this game will just suicide unless you give them 10 million orders back here. And once those orders run out, it'll suicide. So you need to give it more orders than it has fuel. So that's kind of annoying. So, not going so well for red. He pushed out and then he got shot and now he's been pushed back. But yeah, this isn't doing anything. This should be here, really. And then a Tunguska with it. Yeah, so like, this is the road, right? So this is where you want to be. Also, like, a Spetsnaz is not useful here. It should have been a Motostrelki or something, because you don't need to kill the infantry at close range if you kill them before they get into close range. So that this isn't really a good purchase. Because as you could, like, this is a fresh one basically, and it can't accomplish much. So the Conkers will not one-shot this. It takes 2 shots, and so that's the dead Conkers. So what blue could have done here is retreated back a building, as opposed to just sitting there and getting shot. And yeah, lots of low gamers here, right? So you turn off the cover and you hide them behind the buildings, and maybe they make it. Maybe you ambush a guy as he comes past. But red just keeps hitting that helicopter panic button. At least he's got the jet up now. But he's lost both of his good healers, from what I understand, because one died here and one died here. And now he's struggling quite a bit. So still no, like, AA. I mean, he could just dive that with this, really, but he doesn't know what's back there. There might be some cubs back there. And yeah, this is the sort of thing where you turn off the cover and so on, and hide behind the buildings, so that you don't get rocketed to death like that. So yeah, that's not fantastic. That was just like basically just a wasted purchase. That should have been a Motostrelki BMP 1P. So here he comes, and he does get that. And now he's bending left, and there's actually no AA there. But this is more of blue's fault, really. There should be a bunch of cubs up. That shouldn't be allowed to happen, really. Blue suffering the same fate as red. You buy a helicopter, a plane is coming for it. That is Warno. Planes beat helicopters, unlike in real life. In real life, the Americans did some study where they had a bunch of helos with stingers on them or whatever. They had some air-to-air on them, and they put them against planes, and the helos always won. because the plane can only it has to come in, right? The helo can just turn. So yeah, LGBT deployed there. Really, you should have gone for the Tunguska. So he knew where it was because it fired before. So you just ping it, and then you actually kill the Tunguska, and then you can, you know, you can survive and so on. He has to buy another one, which he has done anyway. But so just a bit sloppy here, losing. That's like 140 points gone or something, because it's 90 plus 50. So yeah, like these should be in the forest to take advantage of their stealth. So like, he just keeps moving them into the open. It needs to be in the forest for the stealth. And then this could be put here, just leaving a lot of stuff just kind of hanging out. Like this should be back here basically. This should be in there. And I think like neither side's bought any arty. The problem is they're both losing units so fast that they can't really afford to. But yeah, one arty piece would obviously help a lot here, but I don't think he can afford to bring it because he's got nothing here, so he can't afford to buy that right now. So yeah, it's a shame that Red's unit died here. If he'd unloaded that, that would have been pretty huge. But yeah, the Razved could be MP2s going in against each other. They're pretty crazy how broken they are. And like, this is just 330 points, which has just been sat around not doing anything for about 5 minutes now. Imagine if that was here. Imagine how much better it would be going. You would be winning all these fights in the open, because sure, the TO-55 versus the TO-55, but what happens now that the T-80BV's here? What do you do now? You need this, really. Or a helo, but all the helos are dead. Or at least all the ones with Kokons on them. This just has rockets and the AA. So, yeah, Red not really able to constitute his forces properly. He's just, because he's getting pushed so much, he's having to just buy more and more sort of screening inf and stuff because it all keeps dying. And that's basically how you play against 119Y. You respect their opener, and then you try and kill them in the mid-game. Or at least hit them so much that they can't afford to buy all these tier EUDs and so on. So there you go, Blue's back in on Fedor. And yeah, I do think Red could use a single Mr. B. I think that would be quite useful. And this, like, just having this just sat around not doing anything is just really depressing, actually. And like, this could be over here, because you've already got one here. You could even bring it over here. Imagine if it was here and it would be killing people. But the point is, you want it so that the enemy can't just buy a bomber and kill it. So having it over here would be more extended than having it back here. Up to here, you know, it'd be killing stuff. But right, so here we go. So the jet is going for the plane first, which I think is sensible. And there's only one Igla here. So Blue, as well, is making a lot of mistakes. Where are the Cubs? He has 6 Cubs in his deck. And yeah, this sort of turned the wrong way. Wow, okay. One hit would have killed that. So it had 6 HP and these duels 7, so quite lucky there. Yeah, he's still not noticed he's got this. It's pretty rough. So like, you know, you could get it up to here. So that's a great thing to do if you want to stop people pushing. You put the tank here, and then they can't get across the road. Obviously, the guys who are already here are a problem, but the point is you do it before they get there, and then you just shoot them as they come over. Let's say a plane comes, you start reversing behind these buildings, and then it can't hit you because it can't see you. And also, if they're coming down this road, you can hit them there, and then you buy an RT piece and push them out. But yeah, he's just got stuff just kind of hanging out here. Tunguska just chilling, getting shot. This is out of ammo. That's a very expensive AA piece to lose there. This Conkers, you can bring it around here, and then it can, you know, shoot down there. Or you can put it in here and start moving it up this, and then it keeps its, you know, stealth in the forest thing, and it can try and engage some targets. Needs to try and get an Igla up here or something as well to deal with that helicopter. So CV's just sat in there. Tank's still not doing anything. Yeah, Yeah, it's not looking great for red, to be honest. Blue's push here is kind of... He should just stop doing it, basically. All his reinforcements should be coming over here. And he can just hold here and pressure him, you know, just make him have to buy more stuff here, basically. More units just kind of chilling out, but no, he wants it all, he wants it all. He's not content to just have half of this zone, he wants half of this zone as well, as opposed to all of this zone. So something like this Razvedka, you want to get it closer, even though, yes, this is a nice tall place. Air controllers can see further than atheists, but if you're closer, you can see more. Also, getting somebody to here is great, because that allows you to take this. So if you're blue, what you want to be doing is taking this, because once you get set up here, well then, you know, the guys here can't really reinforce and so on. Makes pushing a lot easier. Everything gets a bit easier when you buy smoke mortar as well, although we see the first cub has come out. 32 minutes into the game, we have our first cub. And, oh, he's finally realised he's got the tank here, great. So, that should just kill that, right? I guess it can't see it. It's only got mediocre optics. But yes, as you can see, that does 1 damage and that does 5. So why can't that shoot that? It says it can see it. Yeah, he's got his ROE settings on something really stupid, basically. Right, so will he move this time? He needs to move sideways. So there we go, he's got it. Could have moved a little bit more this way, but yeah, he sorted it. So he's got it set to not shoot against unarmed units, so it just didn't shoot the CV. So you don't want that at all. You want to go into your ROE settings and you want to tell these to basically just shoot all the time. Missile use against transports, fire at will. And you want engaged in unarmed units on fire at will. Because, I mean, that's just so depressing to watch. It is really quite remarkable. Because it just didn't shoot it, right? Also, you don't want these two together. Yeah. But hey, at least he used the tank. So, on this side, he's having a bad time. He needs a TAEUD here, really. Because, yeah, he doesn't really need to have 2 here. I get that he's just bought this one, but he needs them here. Because, yeah, you get one there, and you get one there, and then they're just not pushing in, basically. You got to keep them alive, but if they stay there, then how are they getting in? Right, because you cover this side, and you cover this side, so... Yeah, it's rough, man. So Su-27S is up, and presumably that's going to go straight on this helicopter, which still doesn't have AT defending it. Blue's finally decided to invest in some cubs. And he's got 1 card of 1 vet cubs and 1 card of no vet cubs, which it... Basically, I was playing TKS, right, and I played against a guy who had 8 cubs, and if he hadn't had 8 cubs, I would have won. But it's so, like, you basically just don't lose your first 4 cubs, and then you should be fine. So you really only want 1 cub card. So here we go. He's trying to get the helo, but it's gone on. It's landed, so he can't see it with the air optics. And the cub has revealed itself, and 2 of those will evac you. Flares in this game are purely cosmetic. They don't do anything, unlike in Broken Arrow. And yeah, I'm not sure what Sparty Bullys Me is doing. I mean, he should be running away. Really, he's not going to beat the TAEU. So this can probably go hide there. And you know what you can do is put it on a move order, not an attack move order, so it doesn't constantly stop and start. But there we go, he did actually get a hit there. He's about to leave range, though. But oh, he's bailed out. Well, that's wonderful, isn't it? So, there was a tank CV here. Okay, it's been brought over to the left. And... Okay, see, never underestimate the Grom. The Grom is actually really good. It's an SPG-9, basically. And here we go. So the cluster's back. The fighter's up, but the fighter's being baited by the... Well, he shouldn't have done that. He should have killed the fighter. Because now he's not getting either of them, and he's losing his tank. So, you know, typically, this bomb's in a big line, so you want to go left or right. You don't want to go forwards, backwards. And basically, if you take a mild turn left or right, forwards or backwards, it will not stop the tank. If you take a serious turn, it will stop and rotate on the spot and then go back, and that kills you. So you want like a mild left or a mild right. How much is mild? What angle? I don't know. But I have seen that behavior where they don't stop fully if it's only a mild turn. So T80B VK needs to go in the zone, I guess. And he's finally sorted this out. So now he can, you know, I mean, this... What? Just heal him. And then maybe he can transfer this over here. Or he can literally just run this forwards and just kill everything. The issue is, of course, planes. So he needs another fighter. I'm pretty sure he's only got the one, you know. He's got 6 in his deck, but I've only seen 1. This, you can tell it to attack position, this guy, so he doesn't kill you. Instead of just letting him shoot you over and over. So yeah, he's probably... Oh, there we go, he's seen him now. I think it might be a bit too late. Yeah, down he goes. So, you know, he could have landed it as well, and then it wouldn't be able to shoot him. So here we go, another plane, another day, another plane. And he reverses... And he gets out that time. Interesting. So that doesn't have a perfectly linear bombing pattern like the cluster one does. LGBT's back up. Typically you want to be focusing the AA positions. Question is, can he see them? Because if this dies, then obviously, like, this is his only bomber. I say obviously because you've seen the deck review, so you know that. And there it goes, because there were, you know, 2 upvetted Cubs, a Tunguska, and 2 Iglas there. So he does lose that. And yeah, okay, so he's pushing here now. He's got the Escortini. He's using the Escortini just to scout. So basically there could have been a guy in here, so you just send it forwards. But obviously, you know, it's better to do it with a recon helo. And this tank could come up to here. But he needs fighter cover, right? Because this is like king of the battlefield sort of thing. And he knows there's not really much here, but yeah. So T80BVK finally coming in. Cluster 2 is not on it. It's going for that T80U, which is reversing back in a line, and it's going to die because the bombs drop in a line. You might not have made it out of that one anyway, but you know. And these bombers are getting out, which means they're coming back. The idea basically is you need to make sure all the enemy bombers and everything that can kill your heavy tank is dead, basically. So he's got most of the enemy helos. Seems like it's just down to these rocket 3s now, which can't do anything. But I don't think I've seen a single Su-24 die. So it's not fantastic, really. He's just hemorrhaging units because of the air situation. So he just needs to buy another fighter and get the fighter back here. Always have a fighter up, basically. Because, yeah, you can just sling a missile at that bomber, and or you can just trade for him. You've got 6 fighters. He's got 4 bombers. So... Right, well that's just ridiculous, really. That's not going to work. So he should just hide behind this building and, you know, use your tanks. Use your tanks. Like, you could even send this one over here, come in over here, you know, heal this one. He needs a heavy tank in here, really. I mean, I guess this will do... So, because yeah, this is never gonna work. Because if the enemy's reinforcements are gonna get you for starters. So yeah, he should have hid somewhere. Because very exciting. Right, this guy's monging out completely. So basically, when you go on an attack move, right now you got to move again. Whereas if he'd just come in over here, then he'd be doing alright. So, okay, bomber coming in. And the bomber routes it. Yeah, he's just got it on an attack move order. So instead you want to pick a space and then it'll just stand there and... Oh wow, it unrouted. Okay. And it goes down. Yeah, I mean, maybe with a bit of smoke that could have worked, but it was just dumb. Because now this is coming back in here and that he's going to take the zone. So you're going to lose your +2. Whereas if you hit this wouldn't happen. So, like, this was a foolhardy errand. I've seen people get away with it. So, you know, it's like, you can do it, but Just crossing it over the enemy's reinforcement line is usually not a good idea. Because there's going to be guys there anyway. So, did you see how it turned on the spot there? So yeah, he's clumping them up so he can lose multiple to the same thing. He's still not bought that second fighter, so that gets out, and we'll see it in another 4 minutes. Yeah. So it's a shame, really, because if this was up here, and he'd kept this back here, he'd be winning now. But instead, this +2's about to go, and it's going to be even Stevens. Because he wanted to get a CV over to Anna. So, you know, greed equals feed. That's something we always used to say in the Dota 2 days. Obviously, the game is still out, but I stopped playing when they introduced the traits, basically, which was like a good 4 or 5 years ago. No, this is like 6 or 7 years ago, actually. So there you go, there goes his tick. And I'm not sure what he's going to do now. Right, he's not pushing these up, he's just sort of forgotten about them. He's not got any AA with it, you know, 1 Strela 10M, you can get up there with the tank. But no, he chose death, and now, if it ended right now, like this, it'd be a draw. Question is, you know, because I think, because he wasted a lot of his CVs, so it seems he's still got 3. They're all quite low. So I think the ball's definitely in Blue's court, right? Neither guy has bought an RT piece, which is interesting. Would be nice to get an RT piece, like, you know, all these guys, you can kill them. There's always somebody, if you lose this position, there's somebody in here, so you can just bomb that if you don't have any other targets. RT that if you don't have any other targets. And yeah, Red's AA net never really went up, so he just spent the whole game losing his heavy tanks, which is pretty rough, really. Look at that, it routed. I'm pretty sure that's on RNG. And look, he's put it on attack move, so it's stopping again. And now he's going to leave range. So it's switching to the reflex. Which I think it might lose LOS? No. Okay, so we got it anyway. But if he just ran it forwards, you know, it'd still be shooting. So sometimes you use attack move and sometimes you don't, basically. But yeah, imagine if you're Blue in this situation. All you gotta do is buy those smoke mortars, which we know he has, and you just smoke, and then you just run in, and you're fine. But he hasn't done that. Also, he has, pretty sure he has infantry conkers in his deck, and he's just never bought any. Imagine if he had an infantry conkers here. If he sorted, another one here, you know. Anyway, the T80 BVK just sort of walked up here and died. So now maybe Red could counter push if he's got a CV left, but it seems that all his CVs are hanging out over here. He's trying to sneak over again. Surprised Blue's still not. No, I mean, he should have seen that. He should have seen that. This will have seen, because this is just a. That's just it, because it's got a maximum range that it draws. I'm pretty sure Blue will have seen that. So, lots of low units, and that's what the 3 cards of supply are for. I've noticed Blue hasn't actually ran out of his 2 cards, but that's because he never bought his arty. He never did anything with that, so... It's tough, yeah. And the game's slowing down a lot now. I mean, both sides are running away. I didn't see any arty, any smoke or anything like that. But yeah, I think Red should have bought more fighters, really, having more than 1 fighter. Like, you put 6 in the deck for a reason. It's because you always want 1 up, at least. By the mid to late game, you should have 2 up. 1 active and 1 in, you know, reserve that can be called out at any time. If not more. Because the point is that what stops you is planes killing your tanks. And this game has been the perfect example of that. The planes just kept killing his tanks, and he never killed the planes. So here we go. Infantry conquers a Katsia and a T80 BVK coming in from Blue now. So looks like he's hedging his bets, though. He's sending 1 over here, and he's sending the 1 over here. And here we go. So, like, you got to cover this with a fighter, otherwise you're gonna get killed. Yeah, a 21 pen reflex. Really taking names. In Warno, in Wargame Red Dragon, this has less range. It's actually less good. There's a lot of things like that. Packed equipment, that's better. And he's just stopped. He's just given up. Oh, he ran out of fuel. He ran out of fuel. Yeah. I mean, were you surprised by that, dear viewer? Like, the fighter comes out to avenge, but, you know, it should be out anyway to stop it from happening in the first place. And honestly, he would have had a much better time coming in here and attacking this way, given that he's already got 2 T8Us here, and he could have bought a Strela 10M or something. So he is actually trying it now. 4 minutes left. As for blue, I don't know. I feel like he's just sort of ran out of BMP2s, getting that distinct impression. Because he's not buying anymore. Now he's bought 4 infantry conkers, which makes you think he's run out of everything else. But yeah, look. Red could have closed this game out if he hadn't sent that CV over here, because he would have been contesting this the whole time. You know, get a bit of smoke on the go. But look, he might be able to push in now, although he's using a move order instead of a fast move order. He's doing it from there. Like, he could, if you want to do that, you do it from here, right? So you get in as fast as possible. He's taking the scenic route with 3 minutes left. I don't think that's such a good idea. Although it's not like Broken Arrow, where, you know, it just takes ages for anything to get anywhere. Both games have their ups and downs. I wish I could make video games instead of working on a PhD that never ends. That makes me miserable. But I try not to let it affect the videos, but it's basically just seeping out of every pore of me. Anyway, look, a fighter. So that should kill the helo, right? And you need the fighters up to stop the planes from killing your tanks, right? So hopefully that's a learning you can get out of this. Everybody who's watching, including Red here and presumably Blue. Yeah, it's rough, dude. So he needs to get in here as fast as possible, really. And look, he's keeping the fighters up so that he doesn't get plane. Look, yeah, now you go engage that so he doesn't kill you. And he got him. And there should be another fighter. But look, there's a T-80 BVK going for Boris, which is going to cancel this out, presumably. Because he's not got anything here. Usually you'd have one BRDM2 Conkers here or something, and this would also solve this problem. Or a recon healer, but I think he's not got that in his deck. Yeah, usually you'd have one unit here, just as a blocking unit. So, +2, but it's about to be a plus nothing. And yeah, a minute left. He's dead again to the plane, the same plane that's killed everybody. It doesn't have a fighter up. So, you know, there's something to be said for just playing a little bit slower and getting the fighters up so you don't die. You know, just play a little bit slower. That must have been a side shot. And it looks like this guy's not getting into a laner either, so it's just going to be even like that. And then that makes it a draw, because you need a... If it was a tournament game, then plus, you know, 1 extra makes you win, basically. In most cases. But if it's a ranked game, that'll be a draw. So, hopefully he notices this happening. He's got a CV here. But yeah, imagine if Red had kept that CV in that zone as opposed to YOLOing it. He would have won. By quite some margin. So it is a big shame, really. But, you know, that's life. You make mistakes. You decide to do PhDs. And then there you go. There goes 4 years of your life. Go to prison for 5 years. There's not enough time for anything to happen there, really. So yeah, that's going to be game, and it's going to be a draw. So, interesting game. So, like, that never fired, I'm pretty sure. So, yeah, bit of a weird one. So, here's... oh, wow, that's Nocturna, rank 19. What the fuck? Not rank 19 gameplay right there. And he drew against a rank 569. So, is this Ex Nihilio? Is that his new name? I think it is. It might be somebody else. So yeah, that was interesting from the rank 19 player there. That's embarrassing, actually. That is absolutely embarrassing. How does a guy who's ranked 19 play like that? But it doesn't get the Cubs out until 30 or whatever. I'm just going to stop talking before I upset people. I hope you have a lovely day.